Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
I am an artist living in beautiful Vermont, USA, and I have a lot of questions. So I engage the minds of the people that I meet. Poets, writers, artists. I explore what's inside and share it with you. My name is Ricky McGeckran, and I am eager to know.
A realization I have had in learning to paint is a difference between having ability and being creative. There is expertise and experience to control a brush, manage color on a canvas to get a desired result. But being able to create and manifest concepts, ideas, and emotions into our world is something different. My guest today is an artist and art educator. Our conversation ventured into some very surprising and interesting areas. I am happy to share my conversation with Janet Cathey. I am here with Janet Cathey, who is an artist and educator who specializes in printmaking. And she also has a background in science. So welcome to Eager to Know.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Art and science, my two favorite topics to talk about together. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is what you are currently doing now, which you are a teacher of children. You're an art teacher.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. What age are the kids?
I'm an elementary school art teacher, so I teach kindergarten. Right now I teach kindergarten through 6th grade.
Kindergarten through
Art.
6. All right. I want to know, how do kids that age, and I'm sure it's very different from kindergarten to 6, how do they approach a new art project, art challenge? Like, how do they receive it? Do they embrace it?
They usually embrace it.
Okay.
Art in regular school, this is in public school,
Yeah.
is such a different type of class than what they are doing the rest of their day. So almost every kid loves to come to art class. And especially if I give them a lot of freedom within a project, they usually just go for it, especially the younger ones.
Yeah.
As they get older, they get just normal developmental stages are happening, and as they get older, they get more closer to middle school. They're getting more self-conscious, more discerning about what their abilities are, and some of them are going to not know what to do, especially if it is a more free project.
Yeah. That's such a great answer, because the reason why I asked this question was adults are always, if you ask most adults to do some sort of art task, art project, they're like, I don't have any skill. I'm not an artist. I can't even draw a stick figure. No first grader is going to say that. They
Right.
just jump right in.
Right.
So why is that? Why do we evolve from, when you're a child, feeling very confident about your ability in art, to adults, everyone is not confident?
Well, this is just my own experience. I don't have a lot of research knowledge or anything, but just from my own experience, I think that kids approach art as play.
Yeah.
And so playing is fun, and they get to just do whatever they want, and they are not going to be, they are not going to really even care if they finish it sometimes. They're not going to care if anybody else likes it. They are just exploring the materials, and it's fun.
And something changes in like 2nd or 3rd grade or something?
Yeah.
And why do you think that changes?
Well, I think that some kids are, a little bit more perfectionist than others. And as they get older, they discover that if they haven't been practicing, that just like when they practice math or soccer or whatever else, they might not be as good as they want to be. And so then they lose confidence, and then they aren't sure they want to do it anymore. There's also this mindset that some people have, and a lot of it has to do with society and their families and school culture, and that is that either art is not an important, it's not valued, or it's fluffy and it's so cute, but now you need to move on to older things, or that it's like ingrained, like I was either born a good artist or I wasn't, or I'm not the artist in the family. I hear that sometimes. And so they get pigeonholed a certain way, and they just decide that somebody else is a better artist than they are, and then they just they don't pursue it as much. And I try to explain to them that just like any other topic or any other field, if you practice, if you love it and you keep practicing, you get better at it. And I think that there's two different kinds of art brains, actually. There's like a creative mind, and then there's so there's the creativity part of making art, and then there's also the skill, like the fine motor coordination or being able to use certain tools or to be able to draw. And we all know that some artists who are very, very successful artists know how to do sculptures and or create cool stories and can, come up with ideas that no one else has ever come up with, because that's part of being an artist. And then there's the part of that they may not even know how to draw. So there's different kinds of artists. And I think if you've been encouraged to be a creative thinker, you might be that kind of an artist, and it may not even matter that your stick figures are stick figures. It's your cool ideas that you use.
Yeah. The difference between creativity and skill is what you're talking about. I think that's so important, because having a creative mind is very valuable and important in doing new things in whatever you do.
Yeah.
Do you think that art class starts developing the creative mind, or do you think it helps develop the skills of like painting and drawing?
It depends on the class. There's different teachers who have different approaches to teaching art. I was taught to teach students the principles of art and, value and line and texture, and learn about color theory, and, learn about contrasting colors and hot colors and cool colors and all those kinds of things. And I would teach them, and some of the kids were really, were absorbing it all, and others would hear my ideas, and I would ask them to do a project that used those principles that we just learned about. And then I noticed that when they had their own free art, they wouldn't use those concepts that I had just taught them. So they were doing it as a school subject. They were doing it because they had been taught you're supposed to follow directions in school and you're supposed to conform, which actually gets them into this mindset of, okay, art class is learning about these processes. But you can also teach art in a different way. You can say, this is the art studio, this is how artists create, this is what artists do. They give themselves they might give themselves a limitation, they might get inspiration from another artist, and then they take that and they use it in a way that it makes meaning for themselves.
Right.
And when they do that, they tend to be more excited about what they're doing. And they also, I can also give them, and I've started to do this more in the last few years too, give them little creative problems to solve. And they do this a lot in the STEM is the new thing, science, technology, and engineering and math, where it's more important these days to give kids experiences of learning how to solve problems.
Yep.
But, there's learning how to solve art problems too. And
And certainly as a painter, painting is problem solving.
Yeah.
I mean, that's constantly what I'm doing in front of the camera. You mentioned science, technology, engineering, and math. I know that you have a background in science.
Yeah.
How did that come about for you? When did you get interested in science?
Well, I wasn't really that interested in science. I was okay in all my subjects. I did pretty well in school, but and I was always interested in doing art. But when I went to college, I thought probably shouldn't be an art major because then what am I going to do to make money? And I really looked up to my older sister who was a science type person.
Right.
And so she's 6 years older, and I decided I wanted to be like her. So I had to take some sciences anyway, so I took geology. She had said to me, "Oh, it's such a cool new field. There's still new things being discovered, and it's just a really neat field." So I went and took geology, and I really loved it. And I did a field course in geology, and I loved how we did a lot of field trips, and we went out in nature, and we were observing the landforms and how things got formed. And there was a lot of camaraderie in the geology department versus in the biology or chemistry. There were more people in kind of competition with each other heading for graduate school more, or being a medical doctor or something. And I wasn't motivated in that way at all. I just liked the topic. Oh, and the map making. The map making was a very visual part of the whole thing. It was just it's a very visual field.
Map making is part of geology?
Yeah, like learning, deciding how this land was formed, and so a map is created to show people where different rocks are, and that helps them to figure out how did this rock formation get formed. Why is there a big hill here? It's because of erosion around this more resistant rock, or just things like that. And it was just fun to make the maps and color in the colors. And
You're definitely talking about geology as an artist.
I know, and that was that's the thing. It was all very visual, and I was more into the wow than the why.
Yeah.
So I'd get excited about looking at things and looking at something under a microscope and looking at the crystal structures, or looking at the tiny little diatoms that had these really interesting patterns on them, and drawing pictures of them. And so my senior project had a lot of pages of drawings in it of these microscopic organisms that I had found in some fossils. And so that's what I was more interested in. So I knew I probably wouldn't be going deeper into getting a more advanced degree in geology, because I wasn't interested in the geochemistry, the geophysics, the math that's required for those.
Okay,
topics.
so not the math. You're more of an earth science type person.
Yeah.
You mentioned that people can develop skills as an artist. Do you think that there is or what is your opinion on the arty brain versus the science brain? Do you think that's a thing?
Well, I do think I've seen kids who can draw more easily at a young age.
Okay.
More realistically, or just have a finer motor coordination. So I do think there's an aptitude.
Which isn't necessarily creativity.
Right.
That's just.
You're right.
That's like drafting.
Yeah. That's right. That's like drafting.
Yeah.
And I think I had that more than I had the creativity side when I was growing up. I think that any person who has curiosity that's been valued in their family or in their school life will be able to put that into art or science.
Yeah.
I think curiosity is a really important thing in any kind of thinking, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess I wouldn't put that into an art or a science brain. I think people who easily have those visual skills and fine motor coordination might be more apt to want to practice doing art and become better at it because it comes more easily. Just like some kids just really love soccer because they tend to, it comes to them more naturally, and then they get better and they can see their improvement more easily.
Yeah.
But I think the ones who really become artists are the ones who can put those both together.
If we were looking to make humans in society that are more creative and not better drawers, but are more creative in how they solve problems and think of new ideas, what do you think we should be doing? Should we having more art class, or
what do you think that we should be doing to create people that are more creative?
I think we should be doing those problem-solving classes, and not just the like puzzle kind of problem solving.
Okay.
I mean more open-ended problem solving.
Okay.
Being able to be open-minded, I think, is a really important skill to have, and that families and schools should value, because kids who have an open mind then don't feel like they can't do it. I think some like in my family, there was somebody in my family who was already an artist. So nobody in my family even said, "No, Janet, you can't be an artist. Your other older sister, she's an artist." But I didn't say that. I said it. Nobody said it to me. I said it to myself, and society said it to me. And so I think there's a growth mindset that's really important. So to be creative, you need a growth mindset. I think you have to be open-minded. You have to have lots of experience solving problems, and just playing and learning how things work and what happens when you do this and what happens when you do that, and being able to value noticing things. Observation is a really good thing, not just for
So observation and noticing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one of the things that you mentioned on your website was patterns in nature.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that. I think you grew up on Lake Michigan, outside of Chicago.
Yep, in a suburb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I would go walking around in the forest and ride my bike to the beach and see the pebbles and walk through the ravines and see the pebbles on the beach. In the winter, like here in Vermont, see what happens when the ice breaks up. I was noticing today the big chunks of ice floating in the river, and sometimes when the patterns of the water go in a certain way, the water spirals around and it chips pieces off of the ice chunks and turns them into circles, and just really cool things like that. I just thought they were cool to look at, and I'm not necessarily even really delving into how it happened. It's just more
when did that happen though? Was it like at your earliest memory? You remember?
Pretty early memories. Just Christmas Day, or I remember walking to the beach with my older sister, the one that I looked up to, and looking at the ice formations all over at the edge of the water. I think here in Vermont, I mean, this is a lot older, but just loving watching the shapes of the shadows of the trees on the snow, and the overlapping patterns of the tree trunks with the shadows, and making the lattice. Yeah.
I noticed that on your art, on your website, there you have a lot of prints that have shadows of trees.
Yeah.
So.
I have one that's called Shadow Plaid, because it's intersecting shadows on the ground.
Good. Now, when did you start creating art that reflected this interest that you were seeing, the stuff that you were seeing that interested you?
Well, I always drew stuff when I was little. I was just trying to get good at being realistic, at drawing realistically, because I wasn't really interested I wasn't really confident enough, I think, to be the one who would create some wild and wacky thing that nobody else had made before. Like you were talking about the creative mind, I was more like the crafts person, and I still am.
Precision.
I love carving a piece of wood. So when I delved into a lot of different art forms, because as an elementary school art teacher, I had to learn a lot of different mediums to show the kids. So when I got to printmaking, I didn't have the formal college art school training. I got that kind of training gradually through many, many different years of taking classes here and there. So I took a lot of different ones, and when I got to the printmaking one, I took one class, a workshop that was it was about simplifying shapes into just black and white.
Okay.
Simplifying a picture into black and white. And I just thought it was so beautiful the way you can simplify a shape in nature and make it have an abstract quality, but also get the essence, just the bare essence of
People will know what it is.
Yeah, people will know what it is. And so I love color, though, so I didn't do black and white for very long, but it helped me to just try to find the essence of a scene or an object and just try to get the dark and light. And it just worked really well with woodcut because I wasn't interested. I was trying to get away from trying to be perfectly realistic.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get those patterns, those shapes.
The shapes and the ideas.
Yeah.
Do you think the learning about the essential visual idea of an item so that people can recognize it when it's simplified down, do you think learning that in your brain is applicable to things other than art?
You mean kind of like simplifying an idea?
I think what I'm wondering is, because I know for me, when I learned how to paint, I was starting to understand ideas, because painting is about differences. It's about understanding the big idea, solving the big idea first before you get into the details.
Yeah.
And that would affect how I would solve problems in the real world. Like my brain was kind of developing in a way that was affecting how I was dealing with life. And the example that you just gave, where you take something from nature and you simplify it down to black and white, monochrome, but still getting the idea across. I was just wondering if something like that's an interesting way of using your brain.
Yeah.
If that would have applications for you.
I wonder if it's a way of like meditation or something. You know, like just not worrying about the details. Like, you know, don't sweat the small stuff kind of idea. That's what makes me wonder. Like, because I think that I get a lot of peacefulness when I look at the art that I'm making.
Okay.
And I wonder if there's something about that I'm just like shedding all that extra stuff and getting down to the basics.
That's the case.
I don't know. I just thought of that. I don't know if it's really true, but I think it is, because I think I and others have told me that they feel calm when they look at the art that I
felt
make.
calm when I was looking at the work, the art on your website.
It calms me to do it. I
Oh.
just love it. It's a real meditation for me to do the carving part. And even just the rolling out the ink. It's very rhythmic, and the carving can be rhythmic too.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great that you have that available to you.
And I know I'm very lucky, and I like just think about I'm thinking right now that the colors that I use, the purples and the blues and the greens and those calming colors and the mixtures.
Nice. Now, where do you think you are on the, I guess, range or spectrum of being a creative versus a craftsperson?
Oh, that is such a good question, because I was just talking about that. I'm in a new artist group, and I said to the women in the group just last week, I said, I think I am finally at the stage where I can say that I'm an artist, because I feel deep inside like the craftsperson. Like I haven't been able to admit to myself that I'm the artist. I'm still trying to find the voice of the artist. And I don't know whether it's just that I can't accept that I have become an artist, or whether, you know, because you have this, I was talking before, you have a mindset about yourself. And I've always been like, you know, am I an imposter? You know, I'm just a craftsperson. When do I get to I don't know if I'm up to the point of being calling myself an artist, but I think I do call myself an artist now. But I don't think I'll ever try to get better at the craft. I do hope to open the doors to more creatively expressing the things that I love in nature, and just my feeling of peacefulness, whether it looks like nature or not, I guess, in the future. So that's where I'm excited to go soon.
Wonderful. That's the great thing about being, whether you're a craftsperson or whether you're an artist or creative, is there's always plenty of more to learn, more to grow, more to experience. You're never going to master it.
No, and I'm excited. There's so many people I get inspired by. I just can't stop taking classes. Sometimes I have to stop taking classes just because, okay, I have had enough influences. Now I need to just do my own thing for a while. Yeah.
To do it and experience that. And that's another whole experience, the learning versus the doing.
Right. I don't think it's a bad thing to keep being open to new ideas and new learning. And I mean, that's what I love about people and just learning from them. But I think there's also, like, in the long run, I am my artist, I am my own artist, you're your own artist, and we need to figure that out for ourselves instead of, emulating somebody else.
Wonderful. Well, Janet, thank you very much for hanging out with me today.
Sure.
And this was a great conversation. I kind of had everything planned out about what I thought I was going to talk about, and we definitely went into some new but very interesting directions. So I'm glad that we were able to do that.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. My name is Ricky McGuckran, and you have been listening to Eager to Know, the podcast. If you haven't already, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join me next week for another Eager to Know podcast.